Góðan daginn. Afsakið, ég skilur trufla samtalið. En vonandi eru búin að fá okkur kaffi og kökur og eitthvað, vonandi eitthvað holt líka. Ég skildi öll að segja ykkur að þetta er tekið upp og gæti verið notað í eitthvað markaðsefni, bara svo vitið það. Þannig að þið látum mig bara vita ef það viljið ekki. Óli takk ykkur upp. En ég vil bjóða ykkur velkomin. Við ætlum að tala aðeins skrifstofu framtíðarinnar, öryggi og kannski hvað HP verið að gera skemmtilega hluti varðandi upplifun viðskiptavinir í öryggi og einhverjum svona hlutum. Við fengum auðvitað einhverja skemmtilega gauðra frá Danmörku til að koma og halda þetta fyrir mér því ekki nenni þið að hlusta á mig tala. Ég hef myndi alveg nenni því, sko. En við fengum, það Phillip og Henrik, þeir eru samt vörustjórar í HP, bæði í PC og síðan fartölum. Ég ætla ekki að tala mikið lengur, ég ætla bara að bjóða Henrik velkominn og hann ætlar að renna þessi yfir þetta. Gjörðu svo vel, Henrik.
Good morning, everyone. I think Adolf presented Phillip and I. We are from HP. We are product managers. I do the mobile products, and Phillip does the desktop-based products. We are not going to talk too much about products and specs today. We are going to talk a bit about features. We're going to talk about how we look at the world, how it evolves when we talk about how an office or how a workplace is composed, and where this office is going in the future. Because we believe if we understand how this works today, and we know how it is going to evolve in the future, then we will be able to put features into our products that will make very much sense and help do the tasks, enable the technologies needed for the future work that people may have. So that's the idea of today, and we thought doing the first slide in Icelandic would probably be a very good start. Sorry? Is closer? Oh. Aha. Okay, I'll try to maybe speak up a bit then. So, the agenda. There we go. So we are going to talk about, give you an idea, give you the background for the ideas and the strategy that we're going to follow, and then we're going to dive a bit deeper into some of these areas and illustrate how we try to address all this. And as I said, we're not going to talk a lot about specs and stuff, more features in the products and why we do them. And usually we would do a lot of examples on the PCs, but to try and do it a bit differently, to show that we do these thinkings across the board, we're going to do some examples on our displays. We usually don't talk too much about displays, but we will do it today to illustrate some of the things that we are thinking. But let's kick it off by going a bit further up in the helicopter to give you an idea on why these thoughts appear. Because we've been doing PCs for a very long time. We can do the i5s, we can do the amount of RAM, we can do all the things that make people usually go, oh, but a PC is a PC. It doesn't really matter who makes the PC. It can run the Office applications, it can run everything. So we just have to find out which brand we like. We do all the basics, for sure. So we are not going to talk about those. We want to talk about the things that differentiate ourselves. And talking about the office of today and the office of the future, we need to understand what is driving the office as it is. And it turns out, obviously, that the workforce in the office is very much, I would say, in charge of how things are going and where things are going in which direction. Right now, we are looking very much at the generation which we refer to as the Millennial Generation. And the reason why this generation is of big interest for a company like HP or any company that's doing technology is the fact that they, being born beginning of the 80s, they have grown up with technology. They don't know a life without technology, as in mobile phones, as in PCs, as in the type of products that we manufacture. So we think that if we understand this generation, we're going to be much better in place of doing the features that must go into the products to make the products even better. And if we look at statistics, we know that in a very short time, half of the workforce will be a millennial or the following generations. So it's rather important that we understand this generation. Yeah. So we tend to split it into three things. We would need to know when they work, we would need to know where they work, and we would need to know how they work. Because we think that if we understand these parameters, we can develop technologies that would make our products even more interesting for that. I guess a lot of you in the room today know that from you wake up in the morning and until you go into bed at night, you are in contact with technology more or less all the time. You look at your phone, you check your email. It could be work-related email, it could be private email, but you start blending the work life and the private life into something where it's difficult to distinguish. Maybe you go to work on a bus, you pull out your notebook, you work on your notebook, and so on during the day. And that definitely goes for this millennial generation. They could not think of anything different. And that leads us to where? The obvious answer is everywhere. So people use the technology everywhere. And by doing so, we need to be aware of a few things that we need to put into our products to help it being a safe and secure way of working and addressing your technology. And the last thing is how. We can see that people are much more in contact with one another because the technology enables much better communication between people. In the old days, when you went to meetings, you went into a room like this and you were face to face. But the trend is that you still go to meetings, but you don't necessarily have to be in the same room. So Skype calls, video calls, and so on are going to be much more prevalent. So summing these factors up leads us to say, okay, if this is a product that's being used all day when you're basically awake, then we need to look into the design of the product, because the product needs to be nice, it needs to be in a nice form factor, it needs to be light, it needs to be of good materials, and so on. It should be something that you would actually enjoy being seen with. This is very important for the millennial generation in particular, but I guess for most people as well. It doesn't, you could say it does matter what the product is. It's not something that's that you don't regard as important. If you want to work everywhere, then obviously security is going to be of key importance. By having the technology available all the time, you put all your life into it, your work life, your private life, and there are people out there who realize that this is a very good source of income, because if you can sort of kidnap a product and demand a ransom, then there's a lot of money to be made on this. So making the product secure is a key point for HP. It's one of the major focus points for us when we talk about PCs and even printers. We refer to them as endpoint devices because it's where you have the volume and you have a very easy access to get at least someone to make a mistake and make their technology vulnerable. And the final thing is collaboration. We want to make it easy to use the technology to go into these virtual meetings by making the access easier, by making the sound more crisp, more clear, by enabling a filtering of sound that's not supposed to be in that situation, so that you have a full and rich experience in the meeting. So these three pillars, design, security, collaboration, are the pillars that we build upon. That's where we do all our innovation. And we are going to go a little bit deeper into those three areas to illustrate what kind of things we put into the products, regardless of it being PCs, notebooks, or displays. So,
yeah, can you guys hear me? Great. So as Henrik mentioned, design is getting more and more important out there, also because of the increasing number of millennials in the workspace, and that you now don't just work in the office, you work everywhere. So being seen with a beautiful product, it's more and more important now. So how do we define design? Well, design, there are a lot of different ways that it can be defined. Good design is good business. Design is where science and art break even. Design thinking is thinking made visible. So there are tons of different definitions of design. It's important to state that in HP, design is more than just being stylish and having a stylish product. Design is for us. It's our way of innovating. So we're using designs to be on the forefront of the competition and come up with innovative solutions and products. So innovation is definitely important. As it drives this differentiation, it can give us the competitive edge over competition. So now, 2019 is coming up on us, and if we were to design our products in a linear state towards 2019, using features and technology that is only known today, that is already on the market, we will probably end up behind competition. So what we're trying to do is aiming for 2025 when we design our products for 2019. We'll yet find out that we're lacking the technology and the resources to do this, but we can take elements from 2025 and bring them back to 2019. And this is what we call the leap and pre-leap strategy. So is this going to be 100% of what we're aiming for in 2025? No, because we don't have the resources and the technology. But we will bring elements of the future back to 2019, and that is where we create innovation, and that is where disruption is happening. That is where we are in front of the competition. So that is exactly what I'm going to talk about in this design part of the presentation. I'm going to get into more of these features where we stand out in terms of design, where we are differentiating ourselves from the competition. So just a few years ago, HP's premium business was close to not existing. Now we have established $1 billion business upon our premium portfolio. And we are recognized across industries for our design, and can compare ourselves now with companies like Nike, Tesla, Apple. We are right there in the same group with the awards that we have received. So I'm going to take and split our design focus into three different pillars here. So we look at the material. So what material do we use and why? the form factor, so the shape, the weight, the edges, the size of the product, and then in the end, the rich experiences, which is what makes the product and the design feel more of a lifestyle, and makes it an emotional part. So if we start looking at the material and craftsmanship, we all know the feeling of entering, this beautiful car with leather interior seats, and the feeling and touch of it, the smell. Same could be, this camera that is so precious to you, having it in your hand. It's just a nice feeling, right? And that is what we're aiming for at HP as well when we design our product and choose the material. So in our premium portfolio, we use a unibody aluminum case for our elite books and C books. And we does that basically because, it just feels of great quality, and it's nice to have in your hand, and it looks really good. So that's one reason. It shows quality. Another reason is also because we can actually reuse this material. It's recyclable. A lot of our competitors, they use different materials like carbon and plastic, which you cannot recycle. And this is important for us to have a green and sustainable profile when we are choosing our materials and designing our products. And it's not just about the material here. It's also about making the PCs modular and making them easier maybe to service, so you don't have to change the whole PC, so it's easier just to get in and change a few parts of it. It's all about being sustainable and driving innovation through having a green profile. HP has, over the last few years, been recognized as one of the world's most sustainable and green companies. So we are on the list many places. And this is a great picture that shows that we're actually doing an effort here to not leave a carbon footprint and taking care of the environment. I'm not just talking PCs here, it's all the way around. We also recycle plastic bottles that are flowing around in the nature in third world countries and develop those bottles into printer supplies. So it's PCs, it's printers, it's displays, it's attached, it's all over the place where we're trying to do our best to take care of the planet. So that's an important part of the material, and that's an important part of our design. So if you look at form factors, it's more, how does the product look physically? It's about the shapes, it's about the edges, the size of the product. And here we are obviously doing a lot of things as well. As I mentioned before, our premium business a few years ago was, we probably had a product, a classic clamshell product. Now we have a bunch of different products in all sorts of ranges that reach out to everybody. So whatever need you have, we have the right product for you, and we have the right form factor for you. We have the clamshell notebooks that you're all very familiar to. So both, thin and light, but also the powerful ones. We have X360, so convertible PCs, the smallest on the market. We have detachable PCs. We have all kind of different form factors in the premium space. We also have modular all-in-ones. So we kind of reinvent the all-in-one by now having the PC in the base instead of behind the monitor. I'll come back to that one. And portable displays. As Henrik mentioned, that now you're not just working in the office anymore. So now you can actually have a display, so you can work with a two-display solution in a cafe or whatever you are, where you're bringing your work. Or you can use it as a collaborative monitor and share presentations in smaller huddle rooms. So it opens for a lot of opportunities. So if we dig deeper into the form factor, this is a good example of how we are trying to reinvent our PC business in terms of design. This is an all-in-one, but instead of the traditional all-in-ones where you have the PC and the CPU behind the monitor. We have it down here in the base, and that creates a lot of differences. First of all, that now you can service a PC without, it has to take hours to do. You can easily get access to the hardware. You can actually also swap the display. So the display would have a life cycle of 5 to 7 years, where the PC will have a life cycle of 3 to 4 years. You don't have to change the whole PC. You can stick with your display and change the base, and that will save you some costs. So this is some of the elements that we look at when we're looking at the form factor and we're designing our PCs. So how can we be innovative to save also money for our clients and still have this premium design? Another thing is our G4 desktops, both desktop workstation, but also our traditional desktops. We now have this flexible input-output port. So you can configure it up front with an HDMI, because this is what you want today. But as your PC is probably lasting 4 to 5 years, your desktop PC, your need can change over time. So who knows? Maybe in 4 years you will need a USB-C with alt mode for your display. Then you change your port. It's exchangeable. This is something we look at as well. So you're not stuck to your configuration up front from factory. You can actually change it as your needs are changing. So if we look at the rich experiences, which is something beyond the physical, we're doing a lot of things as well in this part. So this is about the sound, and it's about what can you do with the product, basically. This is a great example. On the very left, you will have a modular PC of how it looked like 40 years ago. I mean, this is how much technology has changed over just a few decades. On the right, you have what you see today. So it's almost invisibly small PC, modular PC that you can stack like Legos. I mean, so much has changed in just a few years with collaboration features, sound that we develop in connection with Bang & Olufsen. You have Skype for Business keys on top of it. You have amazing security features that Henrik will talk about later in this presentation, all in this little product. I mean, we're getting pretty far here. Lots has happened in a few years. If we look at our ZBook X2, which is another example of great experience, you have a detachable PC that has the power of a workstation and a dream color display, so 1 billion colors. And it's made for Adobe Creative Cloud users, so you have shortcuts that you can program on the side. You have a pen with about 4,000 levels of pressure sensitivity. So you can draw on it like you can draw on a paper. It has anti-glare touch. So many opportunities now with our designs and the experiences that we put into our products. This is another example, our C8, the world's most powerful workstation. We can do this because of our design. So this one, I mean, up to 3 terabytes of RAM, 2 Xeon processors, up to 56 cores. I mean, most PCs, they'll burn down with all this power. But the way we've engineered and designed the airflow and the cooling in the PC, it's almost soundless. And it doesn't heat. So design is very important, because if we design our products right, we will have less boundaries, and we will go across the limits that you see today. And just to point out, this is something that we don't just do in our PCs and our printers. We go on down and do it in our touch as well. This is a presenter, but it's also a mouse. I mean, if you're on the way and traveling a lot, this is very nice. Instead of just having 2 big devices in your bag, this one. And that's it. It's a mouse and it's a presenter. And it's digital. So if you're in a Skype call, you have the pointer, and everybody will see it on the other side of the world that is in the Skype call. So it's all the way around. PCs, printers, attach, displays, workstations. Yeah. And Henrik will take you through the security part next.
I was just about to say that I'm getting good at this, but that would probably be a lie. So, yes, security. And as I said, security is probably one of the most important things that we focus our efforts on right now. Design, obviously, but you would, I guess, expect that from a company that aims to go for products from the very low end to the high end, and the focus is very much on the high end as well. So if we talk about security, the mind automatically goes in the direction, okay, security, someone is trying to get into my computer, someone's trying to hack it. And in the old days, it would usually go through the network, or the servers. But with the focus on networks and servers, it has become much more difficult to go in that way than to go through the users, all the endpoints. It's much easier to get into that. So a hacker attack today would usually go along the lines of someone is sitting with a nice, healthy computer. Someone receives an email. Sounds familiar? Yeah? I guess someone in the room has seen something like this. And what happens afterwards is probably going to be dependent on knowledge on what to look out for and what not to do. But if it goes like it usually does, the user is lured to some kind of site which looks okay, but is not. So something is installed on the computer. And either it is active right now, or it just sleeps until the hacker wants to sort of go deeper into the system. And what happens is usually that if the hacker really wants to get into the system, then he makes sure that the PC starts to act strangely. Because what happens then is that the user calls the IT department. And the IT department will probably try to log onto the computer and try to find out what's wrong. And if you're not careful, then the hacker would get access to the credentials and the privileges which the IT department has. And that's usually on a much higher level, allowing access deeper into the system. And when that happens, that's where you start to see the problem, because that's where the whole of the system can get infected. That's the usual way a modern hacker attack would work. The nature of the hacker attacks and the cyber attacks, they have evolved from being young guys, too much time to spare, thinking it could be fun to do some destruction, but not really much apart from that. That was in the old days. Nowadays, it has turned into being a business where you want to make either money or you want to disrupt things. You want to destroy things. You want to make life hard for your adversary, your competitor, whoever, and try to maybe put them out of business. So the attacks and the tools have been much more sophisticated, and there's actually a business around this, where you can go, like you go into the supermarket, and you purchase a kit to do some kind of malware attack. You can even get consultancy services for how to enter a certain type of business. And it's no secret that these kinds of attacks have evolved. So last year, it was estimated that every 4 seconds, there was a new version of a malware. And it's because, just like human virus, it can mutate. So the one that you could fight yesterday is necessarily not the same thing you can fight tomorrow. So you really have to be on your guard. There's a lot of examples of huge attacks which have cost a lot of resources and money. I have found 2 which is of, well, I think of a certain interest. The NotPetya attack was originating from Ukraine, It was directed at some certain facilities in Ukraine. It's believed it was the Russians that did some stuff there to make life hard for the guys in Ukraine. But the thing was, it spread. Unintentionally, yes, but it spread with huge consequences. And from a Danish perspective, it hit AP Møller, the big shipping company, one of the biggest Danish companies. And in like an hour or two, all their 40,000 PCs were infected with this virus, which effectively put down their whole system. They were not able to invoice, they were not able to find out all the logistics around the world on their container ships. And they believe it cost them close to $300 to $400 million, this attack. So, pretty bad. There's another one, Shamoon, pretty bad as well. This one was probably made by the Iranian intelligence services to make life difficult for the guys in Saudi Arabia. The first instance was the national Saudi Arabian oil company, which was sort of put out of business for a long time. That cost a lot of money too. And the thing about Shamoon is that it was a new kind of malware attack, because it went much deeper than all other malware attacks until that date. So it went down and infected the hardware. And we are going to talk a bit about virus attacks on the hardware as well. So as a PC manufacturer, we have to look at our system and what the system consists of, and what we need to do in order to secure this system. So this is a typical endpoint device, a PC notebook. Could have been a printer, could have been a desktop. And there are certain things that you need to look into to make sure that it's secure. So we talk about above the OS. So it's not something that's running on the computer. It's more related to policies and making sure that everyone in the organization, for instance, has a password when you log onto your PC. That's, well, the typical one. Everybody knows, everybody does. But it could also be other things that you want to enforce on your devices. And you need to be able to manage that from a central point, because otherwise you would have to go to each and every PC and make sure that this is, well, installed in the right fashion. And if something happens, you will have to go to that PC again. So central management would be pretty crucial in order to protect the PC. In the OS, that's where the most focus is, because that's where you have your operating system, you have your software, you have your applications, you have everything. And that's the most common target for hackers. Try to infect the operating system, well, then you get control. That's also where you have the most tools to prevent this. So this is fairly well described and protected. New thing is that below the OS, before the Windows operating system even starts, there's actually a lot of code being performed in order to make the PC run. And since this code can actually be updated, well, there's another way to gain access and control over the PC or the endpoint device. So if you can get in below the operating system, then none of the tools you have available as firewalls, as antivirus, will be able to know if this is behaving as it shouldn't. So that's what we call the ideal target, because if you get into that, then you really own the system, and nobody will know, because you don't know what to look for. And on the bottom level, I would say, you have the hardware. If you have a specific piece of hardware, it's very, very difficult to get access to this and to get control over this. So that's where you have the most secure way of sort of ensuring your system is safe. So from that perspective, looking at below the OS, in the OS, above the OS, we look at the device itself, so the piece of hardware. We look at the user, the identity of the user, because that's also something that you would like to steal, because if you can take over the identity of someone, then you have access to all that person's data, and we don't want that. And then you have the data. We want to protect the data as well. And for a standard PC as of 2018, what you would usually find is maybe a fingerprint reader to make sure this is the right person. You have these new face recognition cameras to make sure identity is correct, and you can combine them in many ways. And you have the TPM chip, which does some encryption. That's pretty standard for a PC as of 2018. I'm going to show you how HP has added a lot of features there, which really puts us in a very different league compared to any other PC vendor today, because we have a very big focus on trying to ensure that all these elements where we can contribute to this to the security system will be very relevant. I talked about the hardware. So in all our elite products, we have what we call an endpoint security controller. It's a small chip, and you should regard it as some kind of a watchdog. This watchdog knows what is okay and what is not okay. Well, by definition, if it's not in the part where it's okay, then it's not okay, and then it reacts. So it tries to set actions that will bring the system back to the original state. So that's the basis of everything, the endpoint security controller. Looking at the device, how we protect the device. First of all, we need to make sure that everything that happens before the operating system starts is okay. And we do that by what we call sure start. That's a feature where we monitor all the code that's being executed from when you push the on button and until the control is handed over to the Windows operating system. Because when Windows starts, that's where all your features of antivirus and firewalls and so on will start to function. We have some other features which kicks in when the operating system has started. We have got something we call sure run. I'll get back to what that is. And we've got something we call sure recover. Just to illustrate the sure start. It looks, as I said, at the code that's being executed in the BIOS. It looks at the code that the operating system, when the system is running, asks the machine to do. So it's not just active when the PC is booted, but it's active during the time the PC is operating. And if something gets out of the ordinary, then it halts the PC, it goes back to the boot phase, it overwrites the firmware because something must be wrong. So it overwrites with a known good copy that's stored in the machine to a good copy. And by doing so, we can ensure that all the code that we're responsible for in our PCs is clean and safe and secure and has not been tampered with. So, Sure Start makes the PC sure from a hardware perspective, because we know what code to expect, and we can remedy things if they are not as expected. That's what Sure Start does. Sure Run, that's when the operating system has started. And one of the things a hacker would typically do is to try and shut down the antivirus and the firewall and other processes that would just make life much more difficult for him when he wants to move around in the system. And Sure Run looks at predefined processes, which would usually be the antivirus and so on. And if some of these processes are not running, it will make sure it comes up running again. And I can illustrate it by showing you, it may be difficult for the guys in a bit away from the scene here to see, but I'll simulate trying to turn off the real-time protection within the Windows Security Center Usually the user would not see all these things. It would just happen in the background. So now it's turned off. Now it's basically free for me to do things. But sure run finds out, and it re-enables the protection. So the user doesn't have to do anything. It's done in the background. So doing that, we make sure that these defenses are always up and running. Show recover. Sometimes you want to be able to get the software image back on the PC. Something strange happened, you want to reload it. And for a lot of customers, this is a tedious process, maybe involving someone going around with a USB stick and then try to redo the image. Show recover, all it takes is a network connection, and you could be anywhere in the world. And then the PC would fetch the image and load the image on the PC. It could be either the image that the PC was shipped with from HP, or it could be an image that you created and have put on a server. Then you can direct the PC to look for that image on that particular server. And since we've got the endpoint security controller, it makes sure that the image that you download is the image that you actually expect to get. So no one has tampered with it during the process. So even if there's been a service event, someone has, you have had a service technician replace the hard drive, usually you would have a big problem getting everything up and running again. Not with Show Recover, because you can just hook onto the network. It realizes there's nothing on the disk. It asks the user, do you want to put a new image on your PC? Yes, please. And it does it. User logs on and is back where he left. So that's another way of making security and make life easier. In the example with AP Møller, one of the things that made the cost so high was that they had to go to each and every of the 40,000 PCs with a USB stick and do a manual reinstall. They had no means of doing it in an automated way. When it comes to the user, security can be something of a hassle. We all know that if you have to have a good security, then you cannot just use the name of your dog, the name of your son, the name of, well, your wife and her birthday, and so on. It needs to be much more complicated. Problem is, every time we make it more complicated for the hacker, we make it complicated for the user as well. So we need to be creative in finding out how to make life easy for the user so it doesn't become something like this. And there's a lot of ways to do that. And I talked about fingerprint readers. Obviously, it's a very easy, nice way of getting access to the PC. We actually encrypt the fingerprint, and this image is put on a specific chip, so it's not on a hard drive where it could be lifted out. So it's actually protected and encrypted in the PC. We've got these IR cameras as well. And you can combine these. So every time you combine these authentication types, then you increase security manifold. And everybody has, well, easy access to a fingerprint. So that's definitely one way to go. For some users, going away on vacation can be a bit of a problem when returning, because it was such a good vacation that they forgot all about the password, you know, this very complex password they created. And usually that would involve the IT guys, but we've got a system called spare key. So just like at home, you have a spare key if you lose your key, and then you go to the neighbor or whoever you trust with that key. And for this one, you just answer 3 questions. It could be predefined questions from the company. It could be questions you define yourself, that you know the answers on. And then you get easy access to create a new Windows password. So very easy, doesn't involve anyone else but just yourself. And talking about users, and going back to the initial example, we all get emails from people that we necessarily don't know. And I suppose, even in this audience, you have received emails like this. This is the kind of emails that are sent out. And they are very, very difficult to see which one is real and which one is fake. Because the guys doing these things, they are being very clever in how to do that. In the old days, lots of spelling mistakes and stuff, which would make you very suspicious, but that's not the case anymore. So I don't know how well you can see this, but one of these is actually legit, and one is not. Can you tell which one is legit by just looking at the email? Who would click on anything on that one, on the left? Hands? No? What about the other one? No? Smart guys, don't click on anything you don't expect, because I don't think anyone in this room would expect anything from Bank of America or Chase. Okay, fair enough. But actually, that one was actually legit, even though it looks very much like the other one. And you can look for certain things, and you can learn to look for certain things. And we in the room would probably be more on our guard than our colleagues or people that we know. And that's the key reason for hackers working this way. They know that 100% is not going to click on this, but they just need 1 or 2 or 3 people to do it. And then, depending on the security level you have in your company, then it could spread to all the clever guys. So this is probably something that people will not click on. People order things on the internet. So receiving an email from DHL or UPS is probably something that you are expecting. So guards are probably a lot lower when the mail has this format. Would you click on that email? Chances are, well, you probably wouldn't, but chances are more people than on the previous example would actually click on something on this one. And this one is a bad one as well. And that just goes to show that the internet browser is a powerful tool in the hands of a hacker, because you can fairly easy get people to click on things they shouldn't click on. So what do we do in order to address that? We have a sure click functionality which integrates into the browser. And what it does, every time you open a tab, so every time you go into a new web page, it's like it opens a small virtual PC, and everything that happens on that PC is contained within this PC. Nothing is having any connection to the operating system or the applications around it. So even if it's a bad website, once you click on, or once you close that tab, everything that happened in there is gone. So it hasn't had any contact with the rest of the system. So by having short-click in your browser, and we support it in Internet Explorer and Chrome, well, that can help in a big way against these clicks that we or our colleagues may do during a workday. And that's where you can really save some trouble. So that was SureClick. SureView, usually when we talk about hacking, we think about software. But there's another type of hacking that's equally important to be aware of. And that's because we work everywhere. We have our devices, we have our smartphones, we have our notebooks, we work, we have nice, big, clear screens. It's pretty easy to read what's on the screens. So you know it when you work in the airport. People go, interesting. And some things you want to share, some things you don't want to share. And you could purchase these filters you put in front of the screen, which are a bit, tedious to work with, let's say that. We have created a solution which we built right into the into the panel. So by just pressing a button, then you get exactly the same effect as you would if you put a piece of plastic in front of the screen. And you can work on anything you want. You will be able to see what's going on, but the one sitting next to you will not be able to see it. And it's just by pushing a button, then you can protect yourself and the data that you are working with in a very easy way. And sometimes you also want to make sure that when your PC is old and tired, you want to sort of get rid of it, that the things on the hard drive, you don't want that to be recreated. The thing is, it's fairly easy to recreate things on the hard drive if you don't take protective measures. And protective measures could be a hammer, but it could also be what we call sure erase, which we build into the firmware and which actually cleans the hard drive in a way so that you cannot recreate the data on the hard drive. So that's built into the system, the ability to do that. And finally, as I said, above the OS, you need to be able to administer all these things. We have created a plugin for Microsoft SSCM, which is, well, probably one of the most used way of managing software in a PC environment. And with this plugin, you get access to all the hardware features in the HP products on the network. So you can actually enforce some policies onto all the clients. It could be something like, I don't want the system to accept a USB stick put into the USB port. At least not without someone putting in the password. Because then I know it's not just someone who found an open PC where the user has left it, just puts in a USB stick, and then by doing so, injects some malware on the PC system. If you need to put in a password, then you have much better security on what's going on. It could actually be, we don't want anyone to use the USB ports at all in a certain department or all of the company. You can use that as a central management thing. That's something you can put into the SSCM. And we've got some tools to help create the image that you load on the PC. So, some examples on what we do to enhance the security on the endpoint devices. And as you can see, there's a lot of features that follows the PCs from HP, as opposed to the fairly sparse features found in PCs as in general. And for the last part of it, the collaboration pillar.
Thank you. So for the last pillar, collaboration. So when you do work, can you guys hear me well? Yeah. So when you do, no. Yeah. I'm sorry about this. I think. Yeah. Now it's there. Yeah. So when you do work away from your office, security is obviously extremely important, that you can secure your device and your data and your identity. But when you work in a bus or in a cafe, there might also be some features or requirements to your device in terms of being able to communicate in calls and collaborate with your colleagues when you're away from the office, that might be important as well. So this is an office as it looks today, and it has this is a bit. Thank you, much better. This is an office as you know it, as it looks in many places, and how it has probably looked like in the last many years. But it can also look like this. I mean, you don't have to work in the office. I'm sure many of you work from home or work maybe at a customer, at a partner, from a cafe where you meet up with business partners. So actually 62% of the workforce, they work from more than one location. And 81 do work activities during personal time. And 65% collaborate multiple times during the day. And with these facts, there will be some requirements to the device, obviously in terms of security, but also in terms of collaboration. So we put in some features in our Elite books and our C books, also many of our desktops, that make it easier for you to use your device as a communicative device and a collaborative device. These are some examples. For instance, if you have Skype for Business collaboration keys on the keyboard, that will make it easier for you to enter a call and exit a call. You can share your screen. You have mics on the back of the PC, so 360-degree sound. Then people ask, so what are you going to use that for? Many people, when they sit away from the office where you have these fancy meeting rooms, need to meet up with colleagues, maybe in smaller huddle rooms, where everybody needs to pitch in a presentation. So you can sit on the other side of the PC and you'll still be heard by the receiver, which of course is a lot easier than 5 people having to sit in front of the PC. Everybody, you can just sit normal in front around a table now. You also have, as Henrik mentioned in the introduction, you have bi-directional noise cancellation software. So you can sit now in these noisy environments like a cafe and have your Skype calls, and you can just cut off the background noise from the call. And at the same time, if your colleague that you're talking with on the other side of the world, he's sitting in a noisy environment, you can just add the settings and cut off the background noise that you're hearing from his side. So a lot of these features ease the way you collaborate with your colleagues, with your customers, and with your partners. That was an Elite book example. We also think collaboration into our desktops. I've shown you the Elite 1000 previously as well when I talked about design. And this product is actually built for collaboration. So like our notebooks, we have Skype for Business tabs, so you can mute, you can pick up the call, you can hang up, and you can also control the volume on the base of the PC. You have a large screen that you can actually swap, and you can choose between different screen sizes that will make it easier for you to do visual calls, video calls. So 23.8 inch with with an opportunity for touch. We have a 27-inch display with 4K resolution. And you also have the option of actually exchanging it with a 34-inch curved. And that is, you know, some of the benefits you get from having a modular PC. You also have sound from that we develop in sound software we develop in connection with Bang & Olufsen on the bass. And you have a IR web camera that you can pop up for security and collaboration as well. So collaboration is something we put in our desktops, our workstation, and notebooks as well. But it's also something we think about when we look at our attach. This is an example for our. Thank you. This is a great example. So this is a docking station, our new Thunderbolt G2 dock that we introduced this summer. where you can actually add an audio module and then put on top of it. So you can use it not only as a docking station, but also as a speakerphone. It will have a premium sound and microphones as well. You can use it in your home office, so you are sure that the sound goes in nice and clear. People can hear you, and you can hear them very well. But also in smaller huddle rooms, it's very relevant. You can just connect it to a display, and then USB-C into your PC, Thunderbolt, and you're up and running. And this is a combo docking station, so it actually works for different kind of category and platforms, both elite books and C books that need more power. So we think collaboration into a lot of our products. And we take a closer look and stay in the collaboration world and go to the displays. We also have displays where we have the same kind of focus on collaborating. You have the same IR camera that I showed you on the all-in-one. On the S340C, which is a great example of a collaboration display, 34-inch curved monitor. You have sound that we developed with Bang & Olufsen, and you can see down here in the very left button. You can also use this button for collaboration, take calls, hang up, and mute. So it's very easy to use this for a collaboration device. Another thing is that this display has USB-C with power delivery. So if your PC supports it, you can actually power your PC from the display and get rid of the docking station. So it's a clean disk solution as well. So when you look at design and security and collaboration, this display has everything. So also we talked about working outside the office. And the way we look at the office of the future, this display also get relevant. Now you have a 14-inch display that is lighter than your notebook. You can pack it in your backpack, and when you work outside your office, you can work still with your 2-monitor solution that you normally have at your workspace. Or you can use it as a presenting display. Face it towards the customer or the client that you have a meeting with, so he gets a nice view of the presentation, and obviously you have your notes on the PC in front of you. So this works for different things as well. The PC powers the display through USB-C. No drivers, nothing. It's just plug in and go. So design and quality is important for HP, and it's something we look at. So we also give a guarantee for that. So if we look at our C displays, we have something that is called zero bright dot guarantee. And that simply means that if one subpixel is divided into 3 subpixels, a red, a green, and a blue subpixel. If just one of those single subpixels fails, then HP guarantees that we will deliver a new display, no questions asked. So this is a guarantee that we give because we're so confident in the design and the quality of our products. When you buy a premium display for performance and you need clear color collaboration, you want to make sure that they don't fail, and we guarantee that. So another thing here also for collaboration and design and use cases, you see a lot of in the financial sector where you have multiple display. Why not just one display and you have no borders in between? 4 full HD displays in one display, no border, and you can also use it with 4 different inputs for overview in surveillance, security, finance. This display is very relevant, and this is something we look at as well. All these use cases that we have, it's not just a normal full HD height adjustable regular display that everybody has. We look at different solutions so we can fit it into different needs, because we know that our customers demand special needs for the use cases they have. So if we look at our display series, it's very similar to what we see in our notebook series and our desktop series. So we go from C, which is our performance displays, then down to Elite and Value. Elite in Iceland and in Denmark is is very much where the market is, because you will have some requirements in terms of ergonomics. So from Elite, you'll probably see the displays that are relevant for your market, as it has to be able to do height adjustments and pivot and tilt and stuff like that. And the S series is more of the premium side of it. So that's where you will see displays, as I showed you, the 34-inch display and the small display for portable display, where you'll see displays that are suitable for modern workspaces with a modern design. See displays for performance. So it's about color calibration. It's about 4K displays, so high-performing display, and dream color displays with up to 1 billion colors. So what is next? This is what we just introduced and shipping very soon, our newest display on the market, the docking display E243D. So this is a complete docking solution now. So a docking station gets less relevant now. Now you can have a clean disk solution directly from your display. So power delivery from the display directly to your PC. You have RJ45 Ethernet in the PC, and also daisy chaining from one PC to another. Webcam, pop-up webcam, and full HD, and very narrow borders if you daisy chain it to the E243, the regular one. This is a new solution that opens a lot of new opportunities, and for clean disk solutions, more and more people are moving into to cities. If we look at the mega trends, and what does that mean? It means that prices in the cities probably increase, and it's more expensive for companies to rent spaces. So people will have to sit closer as more and more people move in, and this is a way to save space, get rid of a lot of wires. So this is something we're looking at. Security is definitely also a part of the displays, so we will later look at the way to introduce a display with the sheer view features that Henrik showed you earlier as well. So this is something that is coming up soon as well. So this was the last slide from my part. So thank you very much for your attention, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Halló, mér langar að þakka ykkur fyrir komuna og líka að benda ykkur á að við erum með hérna til sýnis bæði það sem við getum prófað sjórvíuð og aðeins fengið touch og fíla á vélarnar hérna á undir skjávarpansmynda vinstra megin. Þá getur það aðeins skoða vörurnar og svona og síðan verða Phillip og Henrik hérna hjá okkur ef ykkur langar að spyrja þá svona aðeins einhverja spurninga. Annars þakka ég bara fyrir.